I just wanted to talk a little bit about something that I actually really don't like talking about at all. When I was in about first grade, there I had a lot of intellectual testing done on me, and the conclusion essentially was that I had several learning disabilities. They stated that I had severe reading and math learning disabilities. They also stated that I had ADD, and that I would never go to college. So my parents, being my parents, decided to help me out with a tutor. So I would go to one of my teacher's house after school, and she would tutor me one-on-one. And I also did some special classes in school. So I went to the resource room. I'd be pulled out of normal class, and I would go to a room with one other student, and we would learn at our own pace. And it really was beautiful that they were able to do that for me. And so, but throughout my elementary school years, they would teach me in this separate classroom, and then they would say, oh, she's back up to speed. They would put me back into the classroom, and then they would say, oh no, she's struggling in, and they would take me out and they would put me back in the resource room. So I went back and forth between being in the resource room and not in the resource room throughout my entire elementary school years. By the time I got to middle school, they said, they pulled me out of class one day and they said, your scores actually show that you should be in advanced classes now. So if you would like, you can start advanced classes. So I started advanced classes, but let me tell you, like, throughout my entire school time, nothing was easy for me. Like, I would go home and I would just study for hours. My friends in elementary school would be playing outside and I would be studying inside. And one of my best friends, I was over at her house a lot, and her brothers were literal geniuses. And one of them wrote a speech in high school about how I, as this elementary school girl, would encourage him because he saw how much I would struggle with my homework, but I would get through it every night and I was able to keep up with my classes. And anyway, I continued on and was going through advanced classes, but really, really struggling. Every grade that I ever received was very, very much earned, right? I struggled and I fought and I did my best in every class that I took, right? And eventually, I went to college, I got a degree, and then I went off to the convent, and in the convent, it was not easy. We studied a lot, a crazy amount. And you can do much more than you think you can. In the convent, there was a lot of things that the superior would be like, hey, Sister Tabernacle, I need you to do this thing. And I'd be like, I can't do that thing. Are you crazy? And she'd be like, oh, really, you can. Try it. So I would do things like make 40 pizzas in a day for the sisters. And it was very tiring because we made them by hand. And, or just crazy amount of things. We would pack so much into a day. And there was one moment in particular where I was in a canon law class. In the first class, they hand out the dispensa, or essentially the class notes, and it's all in Spanish. And I don't speak Spanish well. I've tried for years. I can kind of get along, but I'm definitely not fluent, right? So they hand out this dispensa, and I'm looking at it, and I'm like, there's no way, I'm gonna fail. I can't do this class. So I go to my superior, and I was like, I'm not gonna succeed in this class. And she was like, basically just try your best. You can ask your classmates for help. They're gonna help you with the Spanish. And then a lot of it is just gonna be in the canon law book. So you can reference the canon law book and then essentially find the words in between in this class, and your classmates will help you. So I would sit down with my classmates, and I actually knew a lot more Spanish than I thought I did. I would be reading the dispensa, and I'd be like, I think that this paragraph says this, and I'd read it out to them, and they would be like, yeah, that's actually what that says, maybe change this word or that word, but yes, that's what it says. And it was really beautiful how well the Lord worked in me and through me, and also to my obedience, my obedience granted me the ability to pass this class by the grace of God, right? And I ended up actually acing the exam in the end, and I got 100% in the class, which I was convinced that was not possible for me to pass the class. So praise be to God for that, right? And anyway, this serves as a catalyst, right? Because like I know that I can do hard things if I put my mind to it, right? Because everything has been hard for me, and nothing really has been easy for me. And also, like, when I was in like middle school and high school, like, I would go home and I wouldn't understand what the teacher had taught. So I'd go home and I would try to do the homework, and I would just essentially think through it and figure out a way to understand the homework, and like kind of on my own, really. And then I would go to school the next day, and some of my classmates who were also struggling in the classes would come to me because they realized that I understood it and I could teach it to them in a way in which they understood as well. So it was this beautiful way of like, yes, I struggled through this thing, but now I can also help someone else with this same thing. And it was really beautiful in that way. And I'm very, very thankful for that, because like I also see that like, because I don't necessarily think in the same speed or in the same way that other people think, that like I have a different way of looking at things. So when I am looking at something, I might come up with a different solution that is seen from a different angle, right? And I actually really like that about my brain, is that I think a lot outside of the box, which is something really beautiful, I think. And yeah, it's an advantage and a disadvantage. Like, it's a disadvantage, but also an advantage. Yes. So it might take me a little bit longer to comprehend something, but like once I get it, I'm very good at the thing, which is really beautiful and such a gift that like I know that I can struggle through something and it's gonna be okay in the end. Yeah. And also, like, if you're struggling with something, like, it's going to be okay in the end. Like, if God wants you to get through this thing and you put forth all of the effort that you can put forth in something and it's difficult, like, it's going to be even that much greater when you do succeed, right? Like, climbing a mountain is never easy, but once you get to the top, the view is incredible. So the Lord doesn't ask you to do easy things. He wants you to do difficult things. And every once in a while, he might ask you to do something that's easy, right? And that might simply be, it might be easy because you've worked up all of the building blocks to make it easy, right? So like, the first time that you do something, it might be difficult, but like after you do it 20 times, it might be easy to do. And so when the Lord asks that bigger thing of you, it's easier to say yes. So yeah, do difficult things, try hard things, and let the Lord show you how big he is. Let him be your God, right? Because yeah, the Lord doesn't ask you for comfort. He asks you for greatness, right? So anyway, these are just some of the things that I've been thinking about. And yeah, I just wanted to share them with you, and I hope you have a great day. God bless. Ciao. Bye.